Hey.
Hey, welcome to your one and only gateway to the skies, the Animal Crossing Airport. How can I help you out today?
I want to fly.
Roger. Just so we can get the paperwork all official, where do you want to go?
I want to visit someone.
You want to head to a nearby island on local play? Or some far-off island using online play?
Via online play.
Gotcha. Let me just connect you to the old internet for some online play then.
Roger.
Looks like we've got a flight for Insular Incognito right now. Is that where you wanted to go?
Actually, I'm good.
You little bit. Ah well. I guess he'll never know how the Dragon Quest Slime controller will help with Animal Crossing. Hello fellow gamers, and maybe you want to take advantage of this instead.
Hey there everyone, I hope you're staying alert. Whatever that means. So, a few weeks ago, one half of the Wolf Den team and general all-round nice guy Bob Wolf covered a few controllers that he said would help players of Animal Crossing make the daily tasks a little less tedious. The reason these controllers were mentioned is because they have turbo and or macro functions available on them. But there was one controller that he missed out, and that of course was the Dragon Quest Slime controller by Hori. This also has a turbo function which, granted when I covered a review of this back in late 2019, I didn't really touch upon all that much. Now just quickly for anyone who doesn't know, the turbo function on a third-party controller helps mimic the repeated press of a given button, so all you'd have to do is just hold down the button and the game will repeatedly press the button for you. This is a very handy option for shoot 'em ups and platformers, but it's also really useful for Animal Crossing for helping out with those repetitive tasks that you do on a daily basis. The turbo function on the Dragon Quest Slime controller works by you holding down the turbo button in the middle and then pressing another button to turn on the turbo functionality for that button. After you've done that, you can just hold down the button thereafter to use that turbo feature, indicated by the flashing LED. You can even have the turbo turned on for multiple buttons all at once, but there are some buttons that don't support the turbo option. Those are the plus, minus, home, screenshot, L3 and R3 buttons. But all of the rest are fair game. But there's something that this controller has that those other ones don't have, and that is Auto Turbo. Auto Turbo, or as Hori likes to call it, Turbo Hold, is when the controller does all of the button pressing for you. It'll keep hammering that button for you, and you don't even have to touch it. In order to explain the many benefits that the turbo functions of this controller has when you're playing Animal Crossing, allow me to take you through on a typical day that I have in Animal Crossing, where I'm carrying out the minimum that I want to do on a given day. Let's take a look. Okay, here we go. This is my typical day in Animal Crossing. And here I am doing the tasks which I do pretty much every day. It's the bare minimum. At least it's what I consider to be the bare minimum to do every day. So the first thing I do is I head over to the workbench and I customize my shovel. I do this because when you customize a tool, it restores it, it brings it back to full health. So hopefully it's not going to break on me when I'm in the middle of my daily tasks. And it also saves on using other resources like wood and iron nuggets. You can't do this with every tool though, but certainly with the shovel you can do it. Once I've done that, I start going around the island to pick up all of the collectibles that have appeared overnight. That includes stuff like weeds, branches, fossils, that kind of thing. During my rounds, I'll also hit the rocks that have appeared on my island. I haven't sorted out my rock garden yet, so they're all still scattered around my island, but this is a perfect example of where turbo can come in useful. Set the turbo option on the A button and then just hold that button down and you'll get all 8 items out of there in no time. Picking up the items with turbo is handy as well. Just set it to the Y button and hold it down so you can pick up all those items with ease. Something else I do is I stop by the Able Sisters store. This is so I can have a chat with Sable and get a daily custom pattern. Once I've done my rounds and I've collected all the branches and all the weeds and all the fossils, I'll take those fossils over to the museum to get assessed by Blathers. Now at the time that I recorded this, I only needed like 1 or 2 fossils to complete the collection, but since then I've now finished a lot. But at the time it was a constant stream of me taking fossils over to Blathers and him just saying, "Oh yeah, we've got all of these anyway." Now what I'd do is I'd skip all of that text that I've heard a million times already by putting turbo onto the B button and just holding that down while he's yapping away. Finishes off the conversation really quickly. After that, I'll then cover all of the beaches, picking up all the shells along the way. Now this is where I often use auto turbo to pick up the shells. I'll just set the auto turbo to the Y button so it's automatically picking up all of the shells as I go along. And all I have to do is just wander around. And of course, you can't forget that daily money tree, but I don't need turbo for this. Now anyone who plays Animal Crossing knows that you can grow fruit on your island and you can sell those to Nook's Cranny for a profit. Some of us even plant whole forests of trees full of fruit just so we can get a profit from selling them. And I'm no different. So every few days the fruit is ready to be picked. No turbo is needed to shake the fruit down from the trees. But when it comes to picking all that fruit up, I use the auto turbo on the Y button and then I just stroll over them and it picks up the lot. It's probably not worth it if you don't have your trees set up in the similar kind of arrangement that I've got. Or if you don't have many fruit trees planted at all. But if, like me, you are growing a whole horde of fruit trees, this is really useful. Now there's something else which I think is a really great idea when it comes to using the auto turbo on this controller. Every now and then, you're going to find meteors, shooting stars over your island, or even over a friend's island that you might be visiting. Here's where the auto turbo can really work in your favour. Just plonk yourself in a corner of the island, and preferably where no one's going to bother you, switch on the auto turbo on the A button, and then just leave it. You don't have to do anything else, it will make the wishes for you. Of course, one of the downsides of using the auto turbo is that blinking LED that's always on the controller when it's in operation. But there's an easy way around that. Do you remember the little stand that this controller comes with? Just put the auto turbo on, plonk it on the stand, and then just walk away and leave it. It means that none of the other buttons are going to be accidentally pressed, and more importantly, it hides that annoying flashing LED. I last did this a few days ago and I left myself wishing on stars for at least about 3 hours. Needless to say, I had plenty of really good star pieces to collect the next day. So in conclusion, would I recommend this approach? Well, absolutely. But not at the price point that this controller brings. The Dragon Quest Slime controller was an expensive little thing when it first launched last year, at about £100 after you've imported it from Japan. Now presumably due to maybe demand, or it's perhaps the whole virus situation we're in, that's now gone up to over £130. It's gone up 30% on what was already a really expensive controller. There are other cheaper and more readily available options if you want auto turbo on your controller. The 20 quid HurryPad also has this turbo option where you don't need to hold down the button for that turbo functionality. It's not considered the best controller, especially with action-packed games like precision platformers or beat-em-ups, but it's perfectly suitable for a chillaxing game like Animal Crossing. It is a wired controller though. And if you're more of a fan of the GameCube controller layout, Hurry also make the Battle Pad in a variety of colours. It's got the same features and limitations as the HurryPad, this is a wired one as well, but in a GameCube controller shell instead. I can't vouch for these two though, as I've not tried them, but these are certainly much cheaper options compared to the Dragon Quest Slime controller. And hey, if you're only going to play Animal Crossing with the controller, it's probably not a bad idea going for a cheap one. So are you thinking of giving the turbo functions a shot with these controllers? Let everyone know down below in the comments, and as always, please leave a like and dislike depending how you felt with the video, or even consider subscribing so you'll know when I put up my next one. But anyway, as always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.